In the modern world, painless surgery is something we completely take for granted, but this didn't happen by accident. We went to war on pain, and the question this video is going to try and answer is, how did we win the war on pain? This is great, useful revision for the Medicine Through Time GCSE and the Medicine in Britain IGCSE course. So in terms of context, pre-1846 was called surgery's black period. There was no anaesthetic, surgeons prioritised speed, that was like the mark of being an amazing surgeon was, can you amputate a leg in under 3 minutes? It was extremely dangerous to have surgery. You would die of shock, you would die of blood loss, you would die of infection. Surgery was done by either barbers or surgeons who were really interested in these things but just didn't have the means through which to make it safe for the patient. Pain was a big obstacle to effective surgery. The patient had to be held down, they were screaming. As a result, surgeons would go as quick as possible, and if you've ever tried to do something well, you kind of have to do it slowly. Enter William Morton and ether. In 1846, William Morton performs the first surgery using ether, the first successful anaesthetic. What this does, it's a chemical that is heated up slightly, the patient inhales the vapour, it depresses the central nervous system, blocks pain receptors, knocks you out, and lets the doctor perform surgery on you painlessly. This sounds like amazing, but ether was very slow to work, it irritated the throat and caused vomiting, not good to induce vomiting when the patient's unconscious, and worst of all, it was highly flammable. In a world where every hospital would have been lit by gas lamps, you can't have something flammable in the operating theatre. So William Morton developing ether is a great step in the right direction, but pain is still winning this. Enter James Simpson and chloroform, passed out on the floor there when he discovered it. In 1847, Scottish surgeon James Simpson uses chloroform, which is a new anaesthetic that works faster and was stronger than ether. It was marketed extensively by James Simpson. He argued that the war on pain was won with his invention. But the main issue with chloroform is there's a very small difference between the lethal dose and the effective dose. I'm talking a third of a teaspoon knocks you out, half a teaspoon kills you. And the way they administer chloroform is a big issue. They pour it on a rag and put it on the patient's face, meaning that for every 3,000 people that take chloroform, one of them die, which is just way too many for it to be safe. And in 1848, there is going to be big opposition to anaesthetics still. Ether and chloroform exist, but both have serious drawbacks. If you ask me, chloroform or ether, I don't want to use ether. Do you get it? Patients are afraid of taking anaesthetics for very obvious reasons. Chloroform kills you, ether kills you, they don't want to take it. Surgeons also argue that pain is useful to them. If the patient's screaming, they're alive. If they're passed out, they don't know if they're alive or dead. This is a world before the heart rate monitor, so patients need to be screaming in order for the doctors to know that they're alive. Logic's a bit sketchy there. And religious groups say that we have no right to take away pain. God wants us to feel pain, so who are we to take it away? Enter the hero of our story, the Anakin Skywalker, the Frodo Baggins of medicine in Britain, Jon Snow, one of the boldest men in history. Do you get it? Bold because he was brave, not because of his hairline. I would not insult a man's hairline. So Jon Snow, for a laugh, because he's bored, wins the war on pain. This is not Jon Snow's thing. Jon Snow literally just does this as a side hustle because he's bored, because no one listens to him when he's trying to fix the cholera outbreak in London. Jon Snow realises that the issue with chloroform isn't necessarily the substance itself, the issue is the dosage and the means of delivery. So what he does is invent the chloroform inhaler, which solves both of these issues. You put chloroform into the metal thing, you hold it with your hands to heat it up and cause a vapour, and then the mask gives you just enough chloroform to knock you out. Far better than pouring it on a rag and shoving it on a screaming person's face. He personally administers chloroform to Queen Victoria twice, and as a result, anaesthetics become widely accepted. This means that surgery has now become safe and everyone lived happily ever after, until you died of infection or of blood loss. Tune in next week to find out how those problems were solved. Thank you for watching, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, buy NordVPN, don't really, I'm not actually sponsored. Goodbye.